All right, now let's jump into this bitch. See what's going on.
TC. Flight TC.
I don't know.
What he do? What he do? Flight.
Well, y'all part of FTC?
Flight crew. FTC. Flight TC. I go by Flight, but you can call me FTC. We got some so fresh, so clean educationalish. Now, the last time we reacted to Echoes, I believe we did the comparisons of the most painful unalive moments by certain people. You guys was messing with it. This time, man, we have comparisons of the most painful punishments, bro. Believe it or not, bro, all the way back in the days, like 1320 BC, 320 BC, right? I think. Bro, they used to just do way different type of punishments. Now, usually nowadays, if you guys are not sleeping under a rock, if you do a crazy crime, most of the time you just get like a life sentence, and then at worst of worst, you can get the death penalty.
That's what I'm saying.
But back then, for criminals, especially like very, very weird different cases, they would do public, you know what I'm saying, like crazy
executions and shit.
Punishments, bro. And they obviously can't do that anymore. So let's see what was the most painful ones.
You said something about the church in the Middle Ages. So the Inquisition is They've used a leather strap to secure a device that looks like a two-way fork with two sharp points on your neck. One of the sides is pushing against your sternum, and the other against your chin. At first, you tried to keep your head up to lessen the pain, but you couldn't stay like this for long. The so-called heretic's fork wasn't deadly, but made the victim suffer from the tiniest move. However, on the scale of pain based on scientific research, this kind of suffering gets only 27 points out of 140.
What? What's worse than that?
Video, you'll find out about the worst kind of torture in the history of humankind. So, viewer discretion is advised. You have at least a few times in your life been subjected to one of the less obvious kinds of torture. It's just that the executioner wasn't persistent enough when tickling you. In ancient China, this was the primary method of punishing delinquents from noble families, since tickles didn't leave any traces of torture on the body. And the victim was able to recover quite fast if the procedure didn't go too far, of course. In European countries, goats were employed as a torture device. The culprit was tied up, and salty water was poured on their feet to make the animal lick them. What's so bad about that, you might ask? It's just that there's an incredible number of nerve endings in the feet, and the goat's rough tongue would irritate them quite a lot. So, after a few hours, the tickling starts inducing not just
Bro, I'm sorry. Like, why does that just sound freaky as hell, bro? You're using another animal's tongue to lick your feet?
That is freaky, but like, nigga, where do you even come? How do they even come up with these weird ass freaky ass ideas? Like, they just be like, what the fuck? Like, imagine this is like early in the human existence. How do you like? What was he just feeling the tongue of a fucking goat and be like, oh yeah, we should just put this on a nigga feet and make him suffer after hours. Nigga, what? Like, how the fuck nigga come up with this shit? These freaky ass little old niggas, yo.
For torture? Like, yo, that's kind of crazy, bro.
But also painful muscle contractions. You lose virtually all control over your body, which causes extreme stress, anxiety, and exhaustion. Moreover, the nerve endings responsible for reacting to tickles also signalize pain.
That's crazy.
It's just that if we're being tickled for fun, and for a short time, our reaction to stress doesn't go beyond laughter and light sensations in the body. However, if done for hours, this causes the nervous system such overload that the lightest touch causes unbearable physical pain. Now imagine that it's not your feet being tickled, it's your private parts. In India, interrogation of criminals was accompanied by placing a small bug on the culprit's genitals and covering the insect with a walnut shell so that it didn't escape. The constant irritation of super-sensitive areas caused by the bug's movements made the torture unbearable very quickly, and the executioners got any confession they wanted. Eventually, tickle torture would result in death by asphyxiation if the victim developed a throat spasm caused by uncontrollable laughter.
Bro, what? Bro, I was just today now finding out. Bro, you can literally be unalive.
I was just today now finding out. This nigga's so illiterate.
By getting tickled too much, bro. Yeah, bro. What? Bro, that's kind of crazy.
Their possible outcomes were cardiac arrest or a brain aneurysm provoked by serious stress. Yet on the pain scale, tickle torture got only 32 points since the suffering it brought was mostly psychological. This is very similar to the next kind of torture, the Chinese water torture. At first, the person was immobilized, and then cold water would slowly drip onto their face or head. Gradually, the constant skin irritation caused by the drops and splashes would make the nervous system hypersensitive. The inability to move and the wait for the next drop would literally start driving the person insane. Maybe you've even seen this torture in movies. Here's the paradox though. There's no proof that it was ever used in China. This kind of torture was first described by an Italian lawyer on the cusp of the 16th century.
Oh shit.
In the mid-18th century, German and French doctors attempted to use...
Yo, child, let me know down below in the comments. How long y'all niggas think y'all can endure this shit for? Like, you laying there, right? And then you got water just dripping on your forehead and shit. How long? Or your face or whatever. How long y'all enduring that shit? Because apparently your skin gets hypersensitive after a certain amount of time. Don't know the exact amount of time, but like, me personally, I wouldn't even put myself in that predicament. That's just me though, but...
this method to cure mental disorders. Moreover, the very term Chinese water torture came into active use owing to a trick by the legendary Harry Houdini. So, does the water drop torture actually work? Since it can look harmless at first glance, a few bloggers have dared to try it out themselves. The water drop torture was also tested by the Mythbusters. All participants knew they were actually perfectly safe and could be freed at any moment. Yet everyone went through a hellish experience. At first, the experimenters suffered from cold, thirst, psychological tension, and physical discomfort. Then, their entire bodies started aching, and breathing problems arose. It all ended in a panic and desperate pleas to be released.
That is the worst.
In addition, after this episode, the Mythbusters received...
I say that's like more of awkward if anything. Like, bro, just a drop of water. Bro, like, I mean, obviously, I feel like it'll be anybody's pet peeve. Like, if I just see anything like a faucet dripping and stuff like that, I want that fixed ASAP. So just imagine you just sitting there watching a drop of water hit your forehead.
That the Chinese water torture may cause mental issues that persist for 20 hours. So, on the pain scale, the water drop torture received 40 points. And a
40?
huge question as to whether it was
than the next
actually
shit?
used in practice. At least because it was replaced by much crueler kinds of water torture. One of them was the Swedish drink. This name was invented by the Germans. During the 30 Years' War, they became victims of the Swedish army servicemen, mercenaries, or marauders. This method of torture went as follows. Through a funnel, the perpetrators would pour buckets of the most disgusting liquids imaginable into the victim's throat. They used everything from urine and filth to manure and feces. This was the Swedes' way of torturing the civilians, to force them to give up their money or food.
What does one have to do to deserve this? Yo, I ain't gonna lie, oh my god, back in the day, y'all niggas was weird, bro. Nah, bro, what do you have to do to deserve this type of torture, bro? That's actually sad. That's fucking crazy.
It's not even a punishment, that's robbery, bro. Man, what type of sick, cold-ass robber doing that, man?
Crazy, bro.
Not only did
I thought these were for punishments, like they commit some crime, especially a weirdo-ass type of crime, bro.
Them niggas
You
is
wanted
sweet,
some
is
money
sweet
and food, bro? You doing that?
From us.
victims feel disgust and humiliation from being subjected to the Swedish drink, they also contracted...
Bro, I'm sorry, yo. In this time period when they was doing stuff like this back in the day, bro, like, there would have been no way possible, bro, I would have made it to like 20 years old, bro. Because I 100% would have crashed out. I'm not doing any of this. Y'all don't have to catch me, bro. I'm fighting everybody in that crowd and whooping everybody in that crowd, bro. Yo, no BS. Who taking, you taking flight, bro?
Furthermore,
one
their
versus
stomachs
103
stretched, causing
people?
horrific pain. The perpetrators would often use wooden planks to put pressure on the victim's bloated belly, or hit it with sticks to deepen the suffering. So, on the pain scale, the Swedish drink got 46 points out of the possible 140. Very often, one kind of torture ranged from public humiliation, accompanied by intense discomfort, to a death punishment with unbearable suffering. One of such hellish inventions was the cane. It's a large board consisting of two halves with a hole between them, used to keep the device on a person's neck. The cane wasn't secured in any way, so the culprit had to support the board with their hands and balance it while walking. To intensify the punishment, the person in it...
Bro, look at the dude on the bottom right. That just looks crazy, bro. Yo, Like, are we gonna say that, like, bro, like anything before like 1900, like 1800s, 1700s, like, bro? I mean, to be honest, anybody like that was living like before like 19. I said, when did TV get like color? Whenever TV got color
like
and there was some type of internet, bro. If you was living before then, bro, I actually feel bad, bro, because you missing out on everything that's going on right now, and then this is what they had to deal with, like. Man.
The king could also be chained, stopping them from ever sitting down. Moreover, the king's parameters would change according to the severity of the punishment. It could weigh anywhere from 9 to 15 kilograms and have a square, rectangular, or disproportionate, irregular shape. Sometimes they were even double or triple. Often a cane would be so large that the victim would be unable to touch their face to eat or drink. If they weren't helped by those who cared, the victim would die a slow death of hunger and thirst. Yet the cane was also used as an execution device. The convict was placed inside a tall cage made specifically for this purpose. A cane would be secured above. Then, a prop would be taken from under the victim's feet, and they would slowly...
Bro, you know what I just thought about? The reason why I thought about it, because they were talking about something with, like, for, like, criminals and comics or something like that. Bro, can you imagine the amount of people, like, back then? Like, I'm talking maybe, like, 1500s and 1700s when they finally, like, made, like, all the laws of just everything that exists, such as, like, okay, like, stealing, shoplifting, or, you know what I'm saying, like, robbery, like, etc. and stuff like that. Bro, do you ever think that, like, bro, they literally let, especially, like, who they call good people around, like, wherever part of the country they lived in, they probably let a good 500 to thousands of people get away with those same crimes. And then they just woke up one morning and they were just like, you know what? This doesn't sit right with us. Don't y'all guys think that this is, like, bad, or this isn't something that people should normally, or normal functioning people should be doing? Let's think about making a law where we could just make it illegal, so if they commit it again, or if they commit it at all, we'll, you know what I'm saying, punish them. You know what I'm saying? Somebody had to wake up and think about that. Like, they had to be mature after seeing everything go on and all the chaos go on across the country and across the world, and just be like, okay, like, nah, we need to make this illegal. This shit isn't sitting right. Nobody should just be able to just run up on somebody and just knock them upside the head and just take all their belongings. That should be illegal. Like, that's actually kind of crazy, bro. Humans had to come together and think about something illegal, because this wasn't just like human born made. They didn't just, like, nobody on Earth was just born and just make these, like, you know. So I always think about that, bro. It's crazy.
That's how people were executed in China as recently as 1900, suffering excruciating pain. On the pain scale, cane torture sits at 62.
That one's crazy.
However, even this horror is far from being the worst thing people ever came up with. Europeans in the Middle Ages were especially creative in their acts of cruelty. It was then that they invented and actively used a contraption called the Judas cradle. It's a spiky wooden or metal pyramid secured on a support with a special clamp over it. First, the victim's arms and legs were tied, and then their trunk was secured with a metal ring attached to the ceiling or the wall with ropes. After this, the person was slowly seated on the pyramid's sharp point. I won't go into the horrific anatomical details.
Go in his asshole.
Oh, I know where this is going, bro.
Since it's clear anyway that the process caused unbearable pain.
Oh!
Yeah, shitty ass point.
Executioners wanted to receive a confession or other information, but the victim remained silent. They tied weights to their arms and legs, causing the pyramid edges to gnaw at the poor person's body even more. As if that wasn't enough, the Judas cradle was never cleaned, so it became the
No!
Never cleaned?
Oh my
Never
God.
clean?
That had it right there.
Oh, you said clean, never clean,
That's
nigga?
disgusting. Niggas got motherfucking butt juice, fucking poop juice, all types of shit. And don't even let me get started. If a nigga, imagine a nigga had an STD.
Hello, Sasha, yo. Thanks for the follow, yo. Shout out to you. How you doing today, bro? How you doing today, man?
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
So we're talking about this. This is the torture back in the day. What is this? We're talking about torture in the back of the day, and they had this little pointy shit, and then if you ain't get the information that they wanted, they'll make you go lower and lower. The shit will go in your asshole, bro, until you die. And they didn't even clean the shit either. So the next person got the same shit in his ass that the last person did too. It's crazy. Shit, man. I'm history. I know about stuff, right? I'm just not worried about it. This shit's crazy.
No, bro.
This shit is crazy.
Yo, this gotta be the most foulest, sickening educational video right here, bro.
This shit crazy.
Like when you come to realization on that entire situation, that is disgusting. That is disgusting, bro. That is disgusting, bro. Oh my gosh.
Especially because
Like,
back
I feel
then,
like, bro,
niggas wasn't
whenever
getting
they was
food
doing
for real.
punishments like this, bro.
Niggas, but back then, niggas ain't even used to brush their teeth for real either, bro. I doubt nigga will wash their ass correctly, wipe their ass, let alone wipe their ass correctly, bro. I don't know, bro.
90% of the diseases that you hear about and see about now, like they had come from that clearly.
Yeah.
The fact they wasn't cleaning that's nasty, bro. Man.
Breeding ground for deadly bacteria. So, even if the victim...
Even the people that's not even getting punished, that's handling the equipment, trying to move it around and stuff like that, they didn't have soap invented back in the day. They wasn't washing their hands. They went right home. They went to go hunt some deer or something like that.
They didn't need to brush their teeth, right? The only shit there. Bro, yes they do, bro. Like morning breath, your breath stinks. Or like the stuff between like last night dinner might still be in your teeth and shit. Like you gotta brush your shit out, bro. Plaque and shit develops from that shit, not brushing your teeth. Of course, bro. That's why people back in the day, back in those days, their teeth were like disgusting and decayed and all that shit, bro. No, bro, you have to brush your teeth, bro. You have to, bro.
Like that and eat bare hand. Oh my goodness,
survive.
bro. Ew. No wonder the life expectancy, I think back then they said was like what, 25 years old,
Yeah.
I think, or 20.
At any rate,
Bro.
they remain scarred physically and psychologically for the rest of their lives. That's why the Judas Cradle received 79 points on the pain scale, crossing the midpoint. However, the first device to go beyond 100 in our list is the oubliette. It's a horizontal tunnel with the only way out in the form of a grated opening above, used as a dungeon. Often, it was so narrow that the prisoners couldn't even sit down. Moreover, oubliettes were built right there in the castle so that the victims could hear human voices and smell the food, causing them even more psychological suffering. Yet, the real torture was the fact
They kind of was 60 little archaeological pine of arachnoid skeletons and zoology for all pervert. I don't know, bro.
that the prisoners were literally forgotten about.
That might be
in
true.
holes.
Really?
And they slowly
I'm
died
saying most of the time I
thirst,
see people
hunger,
like from like the 1800s and shit, like a picture of them or a video, their teeth was like just like hella like brown and like decayed and shit. I don't know.
exhaustion, and infections.
Wow.
Compared to this, a Judas Cradle execution was a swift way to relieve one's suffering. The oubliette is a kind of immurement, which has been practiced.
So if you heard,
That's how I'm thinking about it, bro. There's no, bro. You can't tell me you're getting rid of all the plaque with a stick. You know, a regular stick. They gotta be some type of fancy stick or some shit, so where they can actually brush. There's no way you're getting plaque out of your teeth with just sticks.
that the only way for them to get out of that is to go to the Judas Cradle.
Since ancient times on all continents. In the Roman Empire, the most influential Vestals who had broken their virginity pledge were sentenced to death. It was against the law to shed their blood, though. So they were immured alive, fated for a slow, desperate
down that
death.
hole, nigga.
If you think this insane practice remained in days past, you're wrong. In Mongolia,
You can still see that shit nowadays. African tribes have a bunch of teeth in their entire life. About 90% of people. Yeah, because 90% of people are lazy, for real. Don't even brush your teeth when they first wake up.
this barbaric execution method was still in use until at least 1913. So immurement in its different variations receives 108 points on the pain scale. But what if you're not alone in this closed space? Then it's an entirely different kind of punishment. Rat torture. As far
I
back
feel like I've
as
heard
in the
of that
1st
before.
century AD, the cruelest emperor in the history of the Roman
I'm about to
Empire,
take everything else on that
Nero,
list, not the rat.
used rats to torture those who fell out of favor. They say he put the victim into a barrel
Say bless you.
with hungry rats who quickly ate the person alive.
Allergies,
In
bro.
India, they made criminals wear wide pants, which were first tied around the ankles and then filled with rodents. Any ideas as to which body
The average hazard tribe member has better teeth than me, despite me spending $8,000 on dental procedures. Damn, 8,000 on dental teeth? Shit. I think the Africa really just
Suffered
running shit
the
with
most
the high tech
and how
culture. I mean, the
painful
high
it is.
tech
However,
Not
Medieval
high-tech.
torturers took it even further.
What's this shit?
They
I don't
tied
know,
the
smart
victims
shit.
down to immobilize them, then placed a bottomless cage
That's very
on their
dumb.
abdomens and filled it with rats.
Look what happened.
Then they put hot wood coal on the grates, and the rats became unbearably hot. First, they tried gnawing at the cage in desperate attempts to escape. Later, though, the rats realized they were standing on a soft human body and started eating their way out through it. Sometimes the cage was put on the victim's head, near the mouth, or other body parts. I'll let your imagination fill in the details.
Bro, that's just cruel. Now, if you do some weirdo crime, I don't have no sympathy for you. But, bro, like, imagine, like, you stealing, like, a motherfucking couple of apples, bro, and they do this to you, bro. This is crazy. That's
The
crazy.
most horrible thing is probably the fact that in South American countries, rat torture was in use until the 1980s. It received 112 points on the pain scale. It would seem that there's nothing worse than this. But before we get to the most horrifying tortures that scored the maximum of 140 points, there are still two more devices. The first of which is the rack. This is another deadly invention of the Middle Ages. It looked like a wooden frame with rollers on both ends. The person's limbs were tied to them, and when the torturers would start turning the rollers, the victim's arms and legs would stretch in different directions. This caused unbearable pain due to joint displacement,
I'm thinking
muscle, and...
I'm taking this over the rat torture. Fuck no. I don't think there's anything on this list that I would take over rat torture. We gonna see though.
ligament ruptures, and in the most horrific
by rats, stealing a loaf of bread. Good. I ain't gonna lie, yeah, bro.
cases, even bone fractures.
I could not be bored.
The executioners could torture the victim like this for hours or even days to beat the confession or the necessary information out of them. Sometimes, a specifically trained person would supervise the victim's condition.
Bro, like, what secret is that important to where you're hiding it from shit like this? And what secret is that important to where you have to do this to a person? What information could you possibly hold that's this important? Bro, oh my god.
Keep them conscious
Especially
and
back
alive
then.
before a specific time. So, it's unsurprising that just threatening someone to send them to the rack would often be enough to obtain
Now,
the
also
necessary...
think about it too. It's crazy, like some of these movies and stuff too, where they have like these crazy like action parts or climaxes of the movie or whatever. Like all that comes from just back.
But I said, back then when you use some forest herbs and plant medical herbs to heal people, they would think you're a witch and burn you alive. Oh, that's a good point. They love back then. Them niggas used to love calling niggas witches. He right. I ain't gonna lie. That sound right.
Back in the days of just like weird torture and shit like that.
The information.
Yo, back in the day,
This horrible
I don't know,
type
y'all
of
niggas
torture
is- them niggas
received
was strong, bro.
116 points on the pain scale. However, citizens of ancient Greece managed to outperform even the cruelty of medieval European torturers, being the creators of one of history's most terrifying torture devices, the brazen bull. According
I
to
heard
stories,
about that one
it
before,
was
too.
built by an Athenian named Perilos as a commission for a Sicilian tyrant, Phalaris, in the 16th century BC. It was a hollow copper statue of a bull with a hatch on its side. A person would be pushed inside, the hatch would be shut, and then the torturers would start a fire under the bull's belly. Furthermore,
This one, the bull one. You wish you didn't know about the bull one.
the statue's nostril structure made the victim's scream sound like the bull's bellow.
Wow.
Yet this barbarism was apparently not enough. So after the execution, the victim's bones were used to make jewelry to then be sold on markets. The inventor of this hellish machine realized very quickly that doing business with tyrants was a bad idea, since the first person Phalaris tried out the brazen bull on was Perilos himself. First, the man's skin started burning in the places where it touched the metal. Then, the hot air gradually burned his airways and lungs. He went on to slowly cook alive before choking to death or going unconscious.
That's crazy.
Before this, though, Perilos went through the agony that reached 130 points on the pain scale. Even this horror, though, won't compare to the fate of those sentenced to lynching. It's definitely one of the most barbaric punishments in humanity's entire history.
Really?
And it hails from Asia. It was used in China,
This is
Vietnam,
gonna be the
and
one that's
Korea
at 150.
right until the early 20th century.
Damn.
To punish perpetrators of the most heinous crimes like mass murder and high treason, as well as to eradicate the emperor's personal enemies. It comes as no surprise, since the victim would be tied to a pole in a crowded space to turn the execution into public humiliation. Then, a few torturers would slowly cut pieces of flesh out of the convict's arms, legs, and chest. We know from historical records that during Ling Chi, the victim would suffer from 100 to
Wait, man, I looked up the funny tag on Twitch. Hey, nigga. I just put up funny.
That's why this torture is also
some of the,
dubbed
I don't
death
do
by
all
a
this shit all
thousand
the time.
cuts.
Wow.
Although the experts state that with such
Can you knock next time, bro? I need like 30. Close the door.
He said 30.
wounds, a person would most likely die within 20 minutes. Sometimes the families of the victims would bribe the executioners to inflict a deadly wound right away. This wouldn't remove the victim's physical pain, but it's worth remembering that for the Chinese, Ling Chi was also a spiritual punishment. According to their beliefs, this disfigurement of the body wouldn't allow the victim to be whole and healthy in the afterlife. This horrific execution method officially remained in use in China until 1905. This type of torture received the most points on the pain scale, 140. I've told you all this exclusively for educational purposes and to tickle your nerves. But I hope it didn't reach torture level. If you enjoy experiencing extreme sensations without putting yourself in danger, you'll find many exciting videos.
Let me know what out of all of these painful punishments was the worst. For me, I'm trying to like pick.
Yeah, I ain't gonna chat. Let me know which one y'all think was the easiest and which one y'all think is the worst, and then in the comments down below. But alright, that is the video. I'm gonna catch you boys in the next video, which I'm probably gonna post. I don't know when, but go ahead and fuck with the chat. Peace out. Alright. That was that one YouTube video. End of pain video. Okay, boom. I'm gonna post these just